are your hearts? The Lord is inspecting the hearts of the people across America. Where are your hearts? Because judgment is coming, and most will be cut off. Are you ready for judgments? Are you ready to see the destruction of this nation? Are you ready? Because it's coming, and there will be no hope whatsoever unless God himself delivers you. But that depends a lot upon you. Will you humble yourself? Will you cry out to God for mercy? Will you mourn for the sins of this nation? Yes, we should be lamenting and mourning for the sins of America. But the churches won't lament and mourn for the sins of America. No, they're too proud and puffed up. Oh, Jesus could have mercy on some of you here. On some of you here, he could pour out his grace, but he's going to resist the proud. He will resist the proud. Jesus is not the father of pride, as many churches think. Jesus is not impressed with your church attendance. He's not impressed with church buildings. He's impressed with broken spirits and contrite hearts. And there are not many of those in the churches. No, the churches across America are filled with pride. They're puffed up. And God is getting ready to destroy these things. And he wants you to get ready. He wants you to lament and mourn. He wants you to cry out for mercy for you and your family's sake. Because the destruction will be swift. And we are not talking about the end of the world. We're not talking about the Battle of Armageddon here. God still judges people, and he still judges nations, and he's fixing to judge the United States of America. Yes, and that's why God is sending people out to the churches to warn them that it's time to forsake the world. The Bible says friendship with the world is enmity towards God. And unfortunately, there are many friends of the world in the churches. Many people that think they can have one foot in the world and one foot in the kingdom of heaven, folks. You're playing games with God. You're playing games with him. It's time to cry out to God for mercy. It's time to actually start loving God with all of your heart, all of your mind, and all of your strength. That's the first commandment Jesus gave, right? But if you're loving your football, if you're loving your entertainments, if you're loving your pleasure, you're not loving God with all of your heart, all of your mind, and all of your strength.
Hey, Jay.
Yes.
Down a little bit, just please across the street, okay?
Where?
Across the street.
So today is your warning, Covenant Church. Today is your warning. We are here to warn. We are here to warn because we care about you. We care about you. That's why we're here. We care about you. It's time to humble yourselves and cry out to God for mercy. I hope there are some here with ears to hear. I hope there are some with ears to hear, but many are going to be broken off when judgment comes. Yes, this nation has been blessed beyond that of any nation in the history of the world. We've been blessed beyond that of any nation in the history of the world. And where much is given, much will be required. This nation has known the goodness of God. We've known the goodness of God in America, but we're getting ready to see the severity in our lifetimes. We're getting ready to see God's severity, and it shouldn't surprise us. 50 million slain babies, their blood, their innocent blood is crying out to God. The perversion that's been legalized in this nation, the perversion that's in many of the churches. Oh, did you think God was slack? He was okay. He was okay with all these things? Nonsense, folks. Sodom and Gomorrah was an example to us. But many in the churches don't heed that example. No, they think it's okay to have one foot in the world and one foot in the kingdom of heaven. The Bible says friendship with the world is enmity towards God. If you are a friend of this world, you are God's enemy. So it's time to start doing what Jesus said. It's time to start loving God with all of your heart, all of your mind, and all of your strength. Because judgment is set. Judgment is set for this nation. Yes, judgment will come, and there will be no escape whatsoever. You cannot escape God's judgment unless he himself delivers you. Many don't understand that. They don't understand that God judges. Well, the Bible says that God is known by the judgments that he executes. And he's getting ready to execute judgment upon this nation. This nation that loves its idolatry, that loves its entertainment, loves its pleasure. The Apostle Paul warned about these things. In 2 Timothy chapter 3, it says, in the last days, perilous times would come, dangerous, super dangerous times, where men would be lovers of themselves. We see this in the churches, people posting up selfies of themselves, loving themselves, showing off. They would be boasters. We see boasters in the churches boasting about what they do. And it says that they would be lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. There are many lovers of pleasure in the churches. And the Apostle Paul said, have nothing to do with these people. So we're here warning you, these behaviors that we see rampant across this nation through the churches are not traits of Christians. No, Jesus said, I wish you were either hot or cold, but because you are lukewarm, I'm going to spew you out of my mouth. Jesus actually said he's going to vomit the lukewarm out of his mouth. What does lukewarm mean? What does lukewarm mean? You know what? That's a really good sermon, isn't it? Lukewarm. Lukewarm is not being on fire for God. Lukewarm is not loving God with all of your heart, all of your mind, and all of your strength. Being lukewarm is loving the things of this world, loving pleasure, loving football, loving your bass boats, loving your Instagram, loving getting likes on your Instagram. You are a friend of this world. You are a lukewarm Christian. And the pastors across America, oh my goodness. The pastors across America, you are in big trouble, pastors. You're going to receive a stricter judgment, the Bible says. The Bible says you are going to receive a stricter judgment. And all across this nation, pastors have made God into a business. They've made God into a business. Yes, they've made God into a career. And in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, the Apostle Paul that worked in special miracles, he wrote half of the New Testament. The Apostle Paul, should we listen to what he says? He said he bought his own bread. He bought his own bread. He did. And he said to follow in his example. He was a tent maker. But the pastors in the American churches don't want to follow in the example of Paul. No, there's too much money. There's too much wool that you can get from these sheep to follow in the example of Paul. And thus they become compromised. Many of them become compromised. The Apostle Paul worked with his own hands. He wrote half of the New Testament. Mighty miracles were coming from his hands. And he worked with his hands. He made tents. But the pastors in America, many of them don't want to work with their hands. They want to feed on the flocks of God. Well, if you're a pastor here at this church and you've been feeding on the flocks of God, today's your wake-up call. Because God is getting ready to deliver his flocks from the mouths of the shepherds across this nation. It's time to examine yourself. If you're a pastor or a teacher, it's time to examine yourself because God is examining your hearts. Has God become a business? Has it become a business where you have your insurance paid for? Folks, it's time to wake up because the God of the Bible is getting ready to execute his judgment upon this nation. Yes, and if you want to know what his judgments look like, maybe you should open up the book of Isaiah. What did God do to his chosen people? His chosen people, his chosen stiff-necked people. Well, they were stripped naked. Their heads were shaved. They had fishhooks put in their noses, and they were carried off into Babylon. That's what happened to God's chosen people. What would happen to the stiff-necked church in America that thinks it's okay to love the world, that thinks it's okay for entertainment, that can't endure sound doctrine? What's going to happen to the stiff-necked church in America if God did this to his chosen people? Folks, we are nothing but a grafted branch. We are a grafted branch. If God will take his chosen people and put fishhooks in their noses and shave their heads and carry them off into captivity naked, what will he do to the rebellious American church? What will he do to the American church? That 3,500 babies are being killed every day and the church does nothing. Most of the churches across America aren't even mourning for these kids. They're not crying out for these kids. No, the churches, it's just become a fun place to gather, right? It's become a fun place to have a nice little teaching, right? To have a nice little Bible teaching. Well, you know what? It's time to start examining your hearts because God is looking at the hearts. And Jesus said, these people draw near to me with their mouths, and they honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Jesus is examining the fruit of this church today. Jesus is examining your hearts. You must forsake the world. You must get rid of all the pollution from your houses. It's time to get the pollution out. It's time to stop being a friend of the world and a friend of God. Jesus said you're to love God with all of your heart, all of your mind, and all of your strength. And if you're a friend of this world, if you love your entertainment, your sports, it doesn't sound like you're loving God with all of your heart. So today is a warning. We're here because we care about you, and we've been mocked and laughed at, and we've actually been slandered by one member of your church. I'm not going to say his name, but he slandered us out here. So that is the fruit that we've inspected here today. People laughing, people mocking, people slandering. making false accusations about us. Is that the fruit of Covenant Church? Is that the fruit of this church where you make accusations against people, you slander them? You're proud and you're puffed up. Some people wouldn't even take a flyer. We have flyers here trying to explain the message. The Lord has given us a message to share with you. And most are too proud. It's very funny, isn't it? I got to tell you what, if this was my church and I was a pastor and I had a preacher show up at my church, you know what I would be doing? I would go up and find out what the heck is going on. Is God trying to send me a warning? But the American preachers, the American pastors, they don't want to be bothered by the Lord, do they? No, you know why? Because many of them are cowards. Jesus talked about this in Revelation chapter 21. Many of the men of God are actually cowards. Yes, and the Bible says, Jesus said, all cowards will have their part in the lake of fire. I got to tell you, if I had somebody preaching in front of my church, I wouldn't be a coward. I'd be like, what the heck is he talking about? I've got to find out. I've got to find out. Is the Lord trying to share something with us? I need to find out. But your pastor was too cowardly to even come out here. What does that say about him? More fruit. If we weren't fruit inspectors, it would be more fruit that I would be inspecting.